You think you're a free thinker? But what if I told you? You're not even choosing your own thoughts. Stop, right now. Feel that resistance, that slight discomfort? Hold on to it. Because in the next 60 minutes, that feeling will either become your prison or your key to freedom. Not because you're lazy, not because you're stupid, but because your brain has been trained to obey rules you never agreed to. Like a rat born inside a glass lab, where the walls are invisible and the air smells like freedom. You think you're exploring reality, but you're only solving puzzles someone else designed. Before we dive deeper, imagine for a moment what it would feel like to suddenly see those walls. To realize every breakthrough you admired, every innovation that changed the world, started with someone doing exactly what you're about to do. Breaking free from mental chains they didn't even know existed. Science doesn't move forward. That's the lie that's costing you everything. Progress isn't a steady march stacking truth on truth, like Lego bricks. Real breakthroughs aren't stacked, they're detonated. History tells a violent story. Progress doesn't look like steps, it looks like snaps. A genius shouts into the void. The world calls him mad. Until one day, that madness becomes the new truth. Everything before it, erased. And when you understand this pattern, you'll never see your industry, your limits, or your potential the same way again. This is what Nobel-winning scientists learned, what revolutionary founders discovered, what outcast visionaries know. We live inside invisible mental prisons. Kuhn called them paradigms. They're not theories. They're the operating systems of your mind. And unless you know how to see them, you're just another brilliant mind locked inside someone else's lab. Welcome to Billionaire OS, where we don't just think bigger, we delete and rebuild the system itself, one paradigm at a time. Quick disclaimer, this isn't about conspiracy theories or rejecting science. It's about understanding how knowledge actually evolves, how power hides inside accepted truth, and how to recognize the walls before they trap you. By the end of this video, you'll have a mental toolkit worth more than any MBA, but only if you stay until the end, because the final piece changes everything. Ready to see the lab? Take a deep breath, because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Close your eyes for 3 seconds. Seriously. Do it now. 1, 2, 3. You just experienced darkness by choice. But what if I told you that you're living in a different kind of darkness right now? One you never chose. One you can't even see. You wake up in a room. No windows, no doors, no memory. First comes terror, then exploration, then comfort. Soon it feels like home. That's a paradigm, not a belief. The entire architecture of belief. You don't question it because it doesn't feel questionable. It feels like reality. Notice how certain ideas in your field feel unshakable. Notice how some questions feel almost forbidden. That feeling isn't wisdom. It's the wall. Thomas Kuhn shattered our illusion. Science doesn't grow smoothly. It revolts. New data doesn't drive revolutions. New lenses do. That lens, the paradigm. And right now, as you're listening to these words, you're beginning to sense the edges of your own. A paradigm dictates everything. What counts as a valid question? What answer is acceptable? What methods qualify as real science? It trains you from textbooks to tenure to see one way. Ignore everything else. It's the invisible lab shaping what you think is possible. Think about this. Before Copernicus, Earth stood still, not as theory, as fact. After Newton, the universe was a machine, absolute truth. Einstein shattered even that. Each time, not just new equations, new worlds. Scientists didn't change calculations. They changed sight. But here's what they don't teach you. Paradigms fight death. The old mocks the new, rejects it, marginalizes it, turns revolutionaries into heretics. Because changing the paradigm means admitting everything built on it might be wrong. Careers, reputations, identities, all hanging by a thread of accepted truth. Scientists inside paradigms are puzzle solvers, brilliant ones. But they're solving puzzles inside a fixed frame. Complex pieces, yes, but the picture's already printed on the box. Step outside, you're not a scientist anymore. You're dangerous. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to feel a little dangerous yourself right now. This isn't just physics. Every system has paradigms. Religion, education, business, government. Every game changer rewrites rules, not just plays better. And as you think about your own field, you might begin to notice the rules you've never questioned. Pause this video for 10 seconds. Think about one absolute truth in your industry. Got it? Good. We'll come back to it. Think about your life. Ever failed not because your ideas were wrong, but because they didn't fit the frame? Ever felt the discomfort of seeing what others couldn't? That peculiar loneliness of being right too early? That's not madness. That's the paradigm's edge. And history makers? They live on that edge until they push it forward. But how do paradigms break? How does perfect stability crack? How does order surrender to chaos? The answer starts with something so small, most people miss it entirely. Section 2, the anomaly. It starts small, a glitch, a strange result, an inconsistency no one explains. Listen carefully. Can you hear it? That tiny voice in your field saying this doesn't quite fit? That's not a bug. That's the future knocking. The system ignores it, labels it error, outlier, noise. But anomalies don't die quietly. They whisper, they repeat, they scream. And right now, in your industry, they're already screaming. You just need to learn their language. Every paradigm promises total understanding. The rules work, the puzzles solve, then an anomaly appears. A result that won't fit no matter how you test it. Like a hairline crack in glass. You pretend it's nothing until it spreads. Feel that discomfort when data doesn't match the model? That tension when reality refuses to behave? Most people medicate that feeling with rationalization. But what if that discomfort is your competitive advantage? Kuhn showed us anomalies seed revolutions. They're data points that threaten the box itself. They haunt scientists, not loud, quiet, persistent. You can't unsee them, can't make them obey. They're like splinters in the mind, growing more painful the longer you ignore them. Picture this. The Michelson-Morley experiment, late 1800s. Scientists believed light needed ether to travel through space, like sound needs air. They measured precisely. No ether. It should have been there. Had to be there. Wasn't. First they brushed it off. Maybe flawed experiment. Maybe Earth moved just right. But the anomaly deepened. More results echoed it. More experiments failed. Certainty that ruled physics for centuries began trembling. That trembling, Kuhn called it crisis. But before crisis comes something else. Denial. And denial, as you're about to discover, is where opportunity hides. It's not just something doesn't work. Enough doesn't work often enough that unease spreads, first denied, then dismissed. But slowly, quietly, it infects. Scientists whisper, what if something bigger is wrong? Remember that industry truth you identified earlier? Start watching for its anomalies. They're there, hiding in customer complaints, in failed projects, in the workarounds everyone uses but no one discusses. Disorientation arrives, doubt. The lab flickers. Equations once scripture feel suspect. Trusted mentors hesitate. Even textbooks once gospel get reread with suspicion. This is the twilight zone of knowledge, where old maps stop working but new ones haven't been drawn. But anomalies alone don't destroy paradigms. Most get absorbed, ignored, rationalized. A paradigm only collapses when anomaly weight becomes unbearable, and someone dares imagine a better frame. Someone like you, perhaps. Until then, the system clings harder, like a sinking ship throwing water overboard. It doubles down, tightens definitions, silences dissent. When you build identity on a system, you don't want cracks, you want certainty. This isn't just science. How many cracks have you seen in your mental models? How many uncomfortable truths ignored because they didn't match your story? More importantly, how much money have those ignored anomalies cost you? What if that thing you've been dismissing is the anomaly that could set you free? What if your irritation with the way things are done isn't weakness but wisdom? Next comes the storm, the crisis, the unraveling, the war between old and new. And this is where fortunes are made. Section 3, the crisis. Tension arrives silent, subtle. Pressure you feel but can't name. Close your eyes again. This time, imagine walking into your next industry conference. Feel the energy. Now imagine half the people there secretly knowing the old ways are dying. That's crisis. And it's happening right now. Scientists whisper in hallways. Papers grow defensive. Experiments repeat for reassurance, not discovery. Everyone feels the shift. No one says it. Something is deeply wrong. Have you noticed how defensive your industry leaders have become lately? How quickly they dismiss new approaches? That's not strength. That's fear. And fear, as you'll learn, is opportunity's shadow. This is crisis. Terrifying because knowledge's foundation feels unreliable. People still follow rules, still publish, still attend conferences. But underneath, fear. Fear the rules might be broken. Fear the puzzle box was a lie. Kuhn described this with eerie clarity. When paradigms enter crisis, communities don't welcome new ideas. They cling harder to old ones. Why? Those ideas aren't just theories. They're careers, reputations, textbooks, entire identities. Imagine realizing your life's work was built on sand. Would you embrace that truth or fight it? When Newtonian physics crumbled under unexplained anomalies like Mercury's orbit behavior and light's constant speed, the response wasn't revolution. It was denial, patching, adding caveats, inventing theoretical forces, trying to save the lab. But the lab was already breaking, and those who saw it first didn't just witness history, they made it. Then comes pain. Young researchers drift from old mentors. Professors hesitate before publishing. Once laughed at theories get whispered in citations. Eventually, someone sees what others dared not see. Einstein, 26-year-old patent clerk who said maybe time and space aren't absolute. No PhD from Harvard, no research lab, just a mind willing to think the unthinkable. That shattered Newtonian mechanics' heart. But Einstein didn't just propose new theory, he proposed a new world where time bends, simultaneity dissolves, energy and mass unite. Stop reading for 5 seconds. Think about the youngest, weirdest thinker in your field, the one everyone dismisses. What if they're right? The old guard resisted. Some mocked, some ignored. Others called it interesting but unnecessary. Accepting Einstein meant accepting everything you knew might be beautiful illusion. And that's the price of revolution, not just learning new things, unlearning everything. Crisis doesn't just reveal cracks. It makes you question your eyes. What else have I misunderstood? What else have I believed because everyone did? This vertigo of understanding is where breakthroughs are born. Maybe you've felt this in your industry, your business. You notice the way things are done no longer works. Metrics feel hollow, rules outdated, success synthetic. Yet everyone keeps going, solving puzzles, pretending the box makes sense. That pretending, that's where opportunity lives. Because while others cling to sinking ships, revolutionaries build new ones. But pressure builds until it can't. Like water against a dam, first seepage, then cracks, then flood. Crisis is the moment before revolution. Breaking point, the paradigm's dark night. And in that darkness, those with new vision don't just survive, they thrive. From that darkness comes something terrifying and beautiful, something that will change how you see success forever. A new way of seeing, and once you see it, everything changes. Section 4. The Revolution. Revolutions don't ask permission. They arrive like slaps, disorienting, violent, necessary. Feel your heart rate right now. Slightly elevated? Good. That's your body recognizing truth before your mind accepts it. Because what comes next will challenge everything you think you know about how change really happens. Scientific revolutions don't update theories. They change worlds. Kuhn showed us paradigms don't evolve. They're overthrown, not retired, replaced. Not because new theory has more data, because old theory finally breaks and someone imagines a different universe. Think about disruption in your industry. Kodak didn't lose to better film. They lost to a paradigm that made film irrelevant. Blockbuster didn't lose to better video stores. They lost to a world where stores became obsolete. See the pattern? Imagine being a physicist in 1905. You learned time was absolute. Clocks ticked identically everywhere. Space was fixed, unshakable. Newton taught this. Newton was untouchable. Then Einstein said, no. Time bends. Space flexes. Simultaneity is illusion. Not just a new idea. Heresy, career suicide, intellectual terrorism. Until it became truth, the paradox burns. Better explanations feel more threatening. They force confrontation with brutal truth. Everything built before was built on sand. Your expertise, your reputation, your identity, all suddenly questionable. Kuhn called this conversion experience, not argument, transformation. Perception shifts so deep you can't unsee. You don't just accept new theory, you see through it, like those magic eye pictures. Once the image appears, you can't return to seeing random dots. Scientists who believed light was waves now saw particles and waves. Chemists who believed in phlogiston abandoned it overnight for Lavoisier's oxygen. Not theory swaps, worldview collapses, identity crises, professional deaths, and rebirths. Pause again. 10 seconds. Think about a belief you've changed completely. Remember that disorientation? That's revolution in miniature. Revolutions are messy. Old guards don't go quietly. They cling until their last breath. Max Planck said it best. Science advances one funeral at a time. Most don't change minds. They get replaced. Harsh? Yes. True? Absolutely. Yet this is real progress. Not through accumulation, through disruption, mental war. Handful of minds seeing past the frame. And those minds don't just win Nobel Prizes. They build billion-dollar companies. They reshape industries. They redefine possible. Easy to romanticize revolutions. Living through one, brutal. You lose certainty, status, comfort of being right. But survive the fire, you emerge with clarity. And clarity, in a world of confusion, is worth everything. Ever experienced this personally? That moment your belief system about love, success, money, purpose was built on unquestioned assumptions? When the story cracked and you saw the wires? Remember how terrifying that was? Remember how liberating? That's personal paradigm shift. Feels like death until it becomes rebirth. Feels like falling until you realize you're flying. Once you cross the threshold, you don't just see differently, you become different. Your competition still solves yesterday's puzzles. You're building tomorrow's game. But here's the twist. Even after revolution, the cycle continues. New paradigm becomes next lab, next invisible box. Today's breakthrough becomes tomorrow's blindness. If you're not careful, you'll get trapped again. Trade one prison for another, one set of limits for the next. So, how do you stay free? How do you remain revolutionary in a world that rewards conformity? The answer will surprise you. The most dangerous thing about paradigms, once they collapse, history rewrites itself to pretend it was always obvious. Think about every overnight success you know. Amazon was obvious, iPhone was inevitable, Bitcoin was clearly the future. But were they? Or is that just the story we tell after the revolution wins? Textbooks get edited, timelines smoothed, controversies vanish. Revolution, once bloody and uncertain, gets told as logical progression. That's the final illusion. Erasure of chaos. Myth of clean progress. This is crucial for your success. Because if you believe revolutions are obvious, you'll wait for clarity. But clarity comes after victory, not before. The opportunity is in the chaos, not the calm. Kuhn warned us, revolutions are invisible, not because they don't happen, because once they do, we forget they were needed, forget the pain, resistance, fear. Instead, we teach new paradigms as if they descended immaculate and inevitable, but they didn't. And understanding this gives you massive advantage. When Einstein published, the scientific community didn't celebrate. They doubted, mocked. Only after decades did the world catch up. Then it erased the struggle. Textbooks now say Einstein proposed relativity in 1905, as if that's simple. Feel frustrated when people don't immediately see your vision? You're in good company. Every revolutionary faced the same blindness. The difference? They persisted through invisibility. This happens everywhere. Business, politics, culture. When radical wins, story gets sanitized. Apple was always genius. Tesla always obvious. Bitcoin always inevitable. Netflix always destined to destroy Blockbuster. But if you lived it, you remember chaos. Everyone laughed, resisted. First adopters seemed crazy, naive, wrong. Smart money bet against them. Experts explained why it would never work. That's paradigm shift's cost. Invisibility. Once new frame dominates, old one vanishes from memory. Forget the struggle, forget how to recognize next revolution. Here's your edge. While others wait for obvious opportunities, you can learn to see in the fog, to recognize revolution while it's still being mocked, to move while others are paralyzed by uncertainty. The danger burns deep. Growing up inside new paradigm, you think it's truth, but it's not. Just another lab, another box, another way of seeing that feels like reality until it breaks. Ask yourself right now, what paradigm traps you, living by beliefs that once freed but now confine? Measuring success with obsolete rules? Following blueprints for worlds that no longer exist? Write down 3 truths about your industry everyone accepts. Seriously. Pause and write them. Those aren't truths, they're prison bars. And someone, somewhere, is already planning to break them. Make no mistake, another revolution is coming. Maybe AI rewrites your industry, maybe blockchain, maybe something not yet named. The question isn't if, but when. And more importantly, will you see it coming? People shaping that future aren't mastering old rules. They're seeing glass walls before they break. They're comfortable being called crazy. They're building while others debate. How do you see what others can't? How do you train your mind to detect next paradigm before textbooks catch up? That's not just the next section. That's your next superpower. Section 6, Seeing the Invisible. To see the future, you don't need more data. You need different eyes. Right now, close your eyes one more time. Picture your biggest competitor. Got them? They're looking at the same market you are, same data, same trends. But what if you could see what they're blind to? People who predict revolutions aren't always smarter. They see what everyone refuses to look at. Kuhn taught us paradigms are invisible while alive, like air. You notice when they shift, but there are signs, subtle tremors, system tension, nowhere to look, sense walls cracking. This is trainable. Starting today, you can develop paradigm sight. But first, you must be willing to see differently. How do you spot dying paradigms? 4 ways. Master these and you'll see opportunities others miss for years. First, watch for puzzles that won't solve. Every system has problems. When the same problem keeps resurfacing, when smartest people can't explain it, that's signal. In 2000s, everyone discussed oil prices and geopolitics. Few saw real puzzle. Why are these systems so fragile? That question birthed breakthroughs in clean energy, decentralization, resilience thinking, new paradigms from unsolvable puzzles. Quick exercise. What problem in your field has existed for decades that everyone complains about but accepts? That's not a problem. That's an opportunity wearing disguise. Second, listen to heretics. Every revolution begins with someone sounding insane. Weird founder, rejected researcher, dropout asking forbidden questions. Most wrong. One might see what others dare not. Pay attention not just to what they say, but why they make others uncomfortable. Who's the craziest voice in your industry right now? The one everyone mocks? Schedule coffee with them this week. Seriously. Your next breakthrough might come from that conversation. Third, look for emotional rigidity. Ideas becoming sacred, untouchable, usually nearing collapse. Paradigms become dogmas before death. Can't question without being labeled dangerous? You're in mental prison. History shows repeatedly. More aggressively belief defends itself. More vulnerable it is. Test this. At your next meeting, question a sacred assumption. Watch the emotional response. The stronger the reaction, the closer that paradigm is to breaking. Finally, follow silence. What's not being said? What's excluded? What questions terrify? In discourse gaps, permission edges, new paradigms birth. The future hides in what we're not allowed to discuss. This isn't intellectual. It's practical. It's profitable. It's how fortunes are built. Sense wobbling systems. Move before crowds. Build companies creating trends, not riding them. Invest in ignored ideas. Unlearn what's becoming obsolete. Master what's becoming obvious. But here's the real secret. Paradigm sight isn't just about seeing. It's about courage to act on what you see. To move while others analyze. To build while others doubt. Most importantly, reclaim thinking power. Greatest freedom isn't choosing thoughts. It's choosing frames shaping them. Master that. Become architect, not prisoner. Ask yourself now. Feel it in your gut. What puzzles have you ignored? What sacred beliefs do you defend unquestioningly? What if discomfort isn't confusion, but awakening? Your paradigm radar is already working. Those weird ideas you can't shake, those industry practices that seem suddenly absurd, that's not noise. That's signal. Next revolution won't announce itself with fireworks. It whispers, subtle questions, brave minds. And it's already started. In AI, in consciousness research, in money itself, in how we organize human potential. When it comes, you'll either be inside the lab watching walls fall, or outside rebuilding reality from ground up. The choice is yours, and you need to make it now. You've crossed through the walls. Feel different? You should. Because in the last hour, you didn't just learn about paradigms. You experienced a shift That discomfort you felt, that was your mind expanding. Those moments of resistance, your old paradigm fighting to survive. You've seen science doesn't evolve straight. It snaps. Knowledge isn't always built. Sometimes it's shattered and reborn. Paradigms aren't just theories. They're perception prisons. And now you're wondering how many beliefs you inherited from systems no longer serving you. Good. That wondering is worth more than certainty. You've walked the journey most never take. Learned revolution's anatomy, how anomalies whisper before roaring, how crises break what comfort hides, how revolutions change game boards, not just rules, how history rewrites everything so futures forget the pain. But you remember now. You saw it, felt it. Once you see the lab, you can't unsee it, and that changes everything. Your turn arrives, not to memorize Kuhn, but live his revelation. Look at your industry, identity, systems. Ask yourself, what paradigm still traps me? What anomaly have I ignored? What revolution is already underway, but invisible to those clinging to old worlds? This is critical, because while you watch this video, your competition didn't. They're still solving yesterday's puzzles. You're ready to build tomorrow's game. In the comments, tell me, what's one belief, one assumption, one truth you're beginning to question after watching? Be specific, because if you're thinking it, someone else is too. They need to know they're not alone, and together, you might just spark the next revolution. But comments aren't enough. Revolution requires action. So here's your assignment. This week, do 3 things. First, start an anomaly journal. Every day, write one thing that doesn't fit. One industry practice that seems suddenly strange. One customer complaint that hints at deeper issues. These aren't problems. They're previews of the future. Second, have coffee with a heretic. That person everyone thinks is crazy. That startup everyone says will fail. That researcher asking dangerous questions. Listen, really listen, not to agree, but to see what you've been trained to ignore. Third, question 1, sacred assumption publicly. In a meeting, on LinkedIn, in conversation. Watch the response, feel the resistance. That's the paradigm defending itself, and its defense reveals its weakness. This is Billionaire OS. We don't follow maps. We decode architecture underneath. Don't copy systems. Rewrite them. Bold enough to question frames, you might build the next one. Remember this moment, because years from now, when your revolution succeeds, history will call it obvious. But you'll know the truth. It started here, with discomfort, with questions, with courage to see differently. Reality isn't fixed, it's framed. Frames can be broken, and broken frames are where billionaires are born. Don't just think outside the box. Burn the damn lab down. Your revolution starts now, and I'll see you on the other side.